Hello viewers, I am your host Uzma Jafri with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show with a historic visit of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Israel. Besides strengthening bilateral ties in areas like space technology and agriculture, the two countries reiterated their strong commitment to combat terror in all forms and manifestations.
A splendid welcome to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his arrival at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport. Modi, the first Indian Prime Minister who has visited Israel, was personally received by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It took Indo-Israel relationship to a new height. India and Israel are close defense partners, but the visit focused on strengthening commercial ties. 7 major agreements on water, agriculture and space technology were signed.
We spoke about so many fields where we think we can make a big difference in water, in agriculture, in health, in every field, in so many fields, in the fields of that affect the lives of our people, their well-being, their employment possibilities, the longevity of their lives.
India and Israel, being victims of terrorism, have vowed to fight against the menace. The Indian Prime Minister and his Israeli counterpart joined hands to enhance cooperation in fighting growing radicalization and terrorism.
We are aware of strategic threats to regional peace and stability. India has suffered firsthand the violence and hatred spread by terror. So as Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu and I agreed to do much more together to protect our strategic interests and also cooperate to combat growing radicalization and terrorism, including in cyberspace.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi found time between diplomatic appointments to meet one special little Israeli boy in Jerusalem. 10-year-old Moshe Holtzberg survived a terrorist attack on a Jewish center in Mumbai in 2008, in which both his parents and 6 others were killed. Moshe's parents, Rabbi Gabriel Holtzberg and his wife Rivika, were held hostage along with 6 others by militants who stormed the Jewish Center Chabad House in Mumbai on November 26, 2008. Moshe urged Modi to make his country more secure and safe.
Because I believe the security will be allowed more better after, and of course the whole situation in Israel will be allowed also better because the deal what you're going to make.
From Israel, the Indian Prime Minister visited Germany to attend the G20 summit in Hamburg city. While addressing the BRICS leaders meet on the sidelines of the G20 summit, Modi urged leaders from the BRICS nations to show leadership in fighting terrorism. He even asked G20 nations to collectively crack down on terror financing, safe havens, support and sponsors of terrorism.
India has a major concern over growing terrorism and extremism in the region. We are now joined by Mr. Alok Bansal, a researcher at the India Foundation. Mr. Bansal, Prime Minister Narendra Modi raised the issue of growing threat of terrorism during his visit to Israel and Germany. How important is it for the world to unite against this menace?
See, there is no doubt that terrorism is a menace that transcends national borders. In fact, the threads of terrorist organizations crisscross countries, they crisscross continents, and this menace cannot be countered by bombs and bullets alone. This requires a concerted de-radicalization campaign which requires collaboration at global level. In fact, countries across the spectrum need to come together and counter this huge menace.
How do you see Chinese President Xi Jinping's statement in which he appreciated India's strong stance against terrorism?
So this is a very, very welcome move because China in the past has been blocking some of the India's moves to declare certain people terrorists, and I think this statement coming from Chinese President Xi Jinping is extremely appreciable, and I think this shows that the ice is thawing, and I think China is realizing the grave dangers that terrorism poses to the global world.
Pakistan remains a breeding ground for terrorists. Do you believe that there should be an action against the perpetrators of violence?
See, there is no doubt that Pakistan, for certain vested reasons, has created an environment that breeds terrorists. You cannot eliminate terrorism without eliminating radicalization. And unfortunately, in Pakistan, fundamentalism, which leads to radicalization, which leads to terror, has become a fait accompli. In fact, you have madaris in Pakistan which are actually mass producing such terrorists. And unless, of course, a concerted effort is made to de-radicalize, these terror factories will not close down.
Thank you, Mr. Bansal. Moving on, the government of Himalayan nation Bhutan has accused Chinese government of not respecting the border agreements and constructing a road on its territory. Neighboring country India has also raised concerns and has stated that the road construction by China would represent a significant change of status quo with serious security implications for India.
China claims that the Doklam Plateau, an 89 square kilometer pasture that falls close to the Chumbi Valley at the corner of narrow and strategic India-Bhutan-China tri-junction, is its sovereign territory. However, Bhutan has categorically asked China to stop the construction of road in its region, which leads to Royal Bhutan Army Camp. India has intervened and supported Bhutan's stand to stop the construction, as the region is not far from Indian state of Sikkim. In another incident of aggression and violation of international boundary laws, People's Liberation Army of China recently bulldozed 2 bunkers of the Indian Army, resulting into minor scuffle at the border.
Who is disregarding McMahon Line? Who is disregarding Bhutan's 1988 and 1998 agreement between Bhutan and China, that everything will be sorted out bilaterally? Unilateral, China is resorting to unilateral action. 1914, what is the agreement between 1912? What is the agreement between China and India? That on tri-junction, India, China, and the affected country will sit, all three of us, 3 people will sit and decide mutually. How can China take unilateral decision to start constructing strategic road in Dokla and in Doklam Plateau? And how can you start constructing a strategic road in a territory which belongs to Bhutan and in which you have no diplomatic relations with Bhutan? So who is lying? Who is trying to mislead the world?
Bhutan, one of the most peaceful countries, has never been involved in conflicts with any country and has acquired a reputation of being a very friendly nation. Locals in Bhutan believe that China should not try to gain control over its sovereignty and should hold dialogues with both India and Bhutan. Some also say that China should refrain from this, as escalating the situation may pave way for a war with India.
And what China is doing on the borderlines, it's very risky because they are encouraging war. And India is just trying to warn them, saying that this will not be allowed, and which will be fully supported by Bhutan, because we are a small country and we can be invaded by anyone. But it's not that it's that easy, because our geographical and topography is such that invasion is nearly impossible. It is ranked, our country is ranked 5th in one of the impossible countries to invade because of our geographical topography.
I think they should all, China, India, Bhutan should all come together and like have a meeting and like make a solution for this one. I mean, take out a solution for this one.
China has already built harbors in small countries like Sri Lanka and Brunei, which is testimony to the fact that it does not merely want to expand its economic power, but there are military intentions behind the project.
India and Bhutan have shown intentions of resolving the matter by talks. However, China has not replied in affirmation as of now. Now we talk about Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, where the people are resisting colonial rule by Islamabad. Opposition is mounting amongst Kashmiri diaspora over a demand for a free Kashmir.
Actually, आप आज़ाद कश्मीर के प्रेसिडेंट हैं और आज़ाद कश्मीर में कोई आज़ादी नहीं.
A moment of humiliation for the president of Azad Kashmir or Free Kashmir.
आज़ाद कश्मीर सदर कश्मीर जरूर लिखें आज़ाद ना लिखे.
During his visit to London, President Sardar Masood Khan was heckled by the people of his own region, who asked him to remove the word Azad or freedom from the term Azad Kashmir, as there is no freedom for Kashmiris in the region. Azad Kashmir, which is also known as Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, is a territory that belongs to erstwhile princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. However, the region remains under Pakistani occupation since 1947.
आप आज़ाद कश्मीर के प्रेसिडेंट हैं और आज़ाद कश्मीर में कोई आज़ादी नहीं है. मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है आपसे, आप अपने नाम के साथ सदर कश्मीर ज़रूर लिखें, मगर उसके साथ आज़ाद ना लिखें, क्योंकि ये लफ्ज़ आज़ाद की तौहीन है कि हमें कोई आज़ादी नहीं है. आपके पास जो एक्ट 74 है, उस एक्ट 74 के तहत आपके पास कोई इख्तियारात नहीं और सारे आपके पास इख्तियारात नहीं. आपके पास
In the absence of mainstream media, the people of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir are posting amateur videos of pro-freedom protests against the Pakistani occupation. Residents of Hajira in a protest have raised freedom slogans and accused Pakistan Army for providing shelter to terrorists. The protests against Pakistan by POK residents comes days after Hizbul Mujahideen chief Sayyid Salahuddin was given the designation of a global terrorist.
जितने भी ये एक्सट्रीमिस्ट जो ग्रुप्स हैं, मतलब चाहे वो लश्कर हो, जैश हो, दूसरे तीसरे, ये बड़े जो है ना एक्टिव हैं हर जगह पे, और जितने भी यंगस्टर्स हैं ना, तो उन्होंने उनको टारगेट किया और उनको वो रिक्रूट कर रहे हैं. और उसके अलावा अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट है वहाँ पे, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर कोई नहीं है, रोड्स की जो कंडीशन है तो वो अगर जहाँ पे 20 किलोमीटर का डिस्टेंस है तो शायद आपको 3-4 घंटे में जाके ना तय करेंगे जो कंडीशंस वहाँ पे, क्योंकि सारा जो सिस्टम उन्होंने इम्पोज किया हुआ तो करप्ट सिस्टम एक तरह का. अपने जो मनपसंद लोग होते हैं तो उन्हीं को वो देते हैं डेवलपमेंट के फंड्स वगैरह, और उसमें कोई चेक नहीं है, कोई क्वालिटी कोई नहीं चेक करता कि इसमें जो मटेरियल यूज़ हुआ वो सही है नहीं है, जो स्टैंडर्ड होना चाहिए. जो पेपर्स में तो कुछ और होता है लेकिन ग्राउंड्स में बिल्कुल डिफरेंट होता है.
Islamabad has been using Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as a launching pad for terrorist activities in India.
Recently, Indian security forces carried out surgical strikes inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and destroyed several terror launch pads. Moving on, let's talk about Afghanistan, where the deteriorating security situation has made NATO to increase the number of its troops in the war-torn nation. In a recent meeting held in Brussels, NATO allies have decided to increase its support for the Afghan security forces to ensure the country never becomes a safe haven for international terrorists. We have a report.
NATO defense ministers met in Brussels to discuss the security situation in Afghanistan and agreed to send more troops with an aim to support Afghan Special Operational Forces. The move comes in response to a request from NATO commanders to provide around 3,000 troops. Since drawing down from a peak of more than 130,000 NATO troops in 2011, current troop levels are at about 13,500 in what is known as a Resolute Support Mission in Afghanistan, of which half are from the United States.
So today we reconfirmed our enduring commitment to Afghanistan. We will sustain the Resolute Support Mission beyond 2017 in support of Afghanistan's 4-year roadmap for addressing key military shortfalls. Our military authorities have requested a few thousand more troops for the mission. And today I can confirm that we will increase our presence in Afghanistan.
Allies are also expected to announce individual figures for defense expenditures after approval by NATO ambassadors, with the overall spending for 2017 at some $280 billion. Stoltenberg on June 28 announced that NATO allies, with the exception of the United States, will increase defense spending by 4.3% this year, marking a cumulative $46 billion increase since 2014. The military and financial help from NATO will help Afghan security forces to fight back the Taliban and other terrorist groups.
You never step into the same stream twice. By that I mean what the war was doing 15 years ago is not what it's doing today. Looking back on it, it's pretty much a consensus that we may have pulled our troops out too rapidly, reduced the numbers a little too rapidly. But the difference today is that the Afghan army is actually able to carry the fight, and they've been carrying the fight for some time now. So there's always new ideas you can come up with. There's never a lack of those. There's new opportunities, and certainly the political will is there to carry this fight forward.
According to a new report by the United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan, the security situation in Afghanistan remains intensely volatile. The UN recorded 6,252 security-related incidents between March 1 and May 31, a 2% increase on the same period last year. The eastern and southern regions are the most dangerous, with a 22% increase in incidents compared to the same time span last year. Meanwhile, the Pentagon warned that Afghanistan was confronted with an increasingly violent insurgency.
Insurgent groups like the Taliban and Islamic State have launched a series of attacks across Afghanistan in recent weeks. We are now joined by Dr. Smruti S. Patnaik, a research fellow at Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis. Dr. Patnaik, the NATO allies have decided to increase number of its troops in Afghanistan. What challenges do the NATO and Afghan security forces are facing in combating terrorism?
In the recent past, one has seen violence has increased, and there are many areas which has again come under the control of the Taliban. So therefore, though NATO has made it very, very clear it is not going to put its troop for any kind of combat operation. However, it has made it clear that it is going to contribute to building the capacity and training the Afghan troops, so they are much more effective against the resurgent Taliban, which has been able lately to have a lot of violence they have perpetrated in Afghanistan.
The situation in areas bordering Pakistan continues to remain grim as the region remains a stronghold of the Taliban. Do the foreign troops need some strategy to wipe out terrorism from this region?
In spite of some of the implications for Pakistan's own internal stability, Pakistan has continued in funding, sheltering these groups, especially whom they used as a jihadi strategy against Afghanistan and India. So therefore, I think that needs to be more pressure on Pakistan, and Pakistan needs to deliver, because there is a lot of money which the Americans have spent, a lot of funding which has gone to Pakistan as a part of the coalition support fund, nearly $20 billion. So therefore, it is not, Pakistan doesn't have a choice. So I feel that it is not should, it must, and it has to.
Thank you, Dr. Patnaik. Moving on to Bangladesh, where residents of capital city Dhaka congregated at a memorial to mourn and pay homage to the victims of Holey Artisan Bakery attack, one of the deadliest attacks the country has faced in its history.
It was a gloomy atmosphere in Dhaka, where hundreds gathered to remember, mourn and pay homage to those killed in the deadly attack on Holey Artisan Bakery last year. The mourners comprised of people from all walks of life, including representatives of different political parties, diplomatic missions, civil society activists and police personnel. Many cried as they remembered their dear ones who lost their lives in the lethal terror attack.
আজকে আমরা এখানে সমবেত হয়েছি গত 1 জুলাই হোলি আর্টিজানে যে বিভৎস হামলা হয়েছিল, তাদের ওখানে যে মানুষ নিহত হয়েছিল, আমাদের দেশের মানুষ, আমাদের বন্ধু, আমাদের বিদেশি বন্ধুরা নিহত হয়েছিল, তাদের স্মরণে এই শান্তি সমাবেশে যোগ দিতে এসেছি।
People also carried out a march towards the bakery to show the solidarity against terrorism. Officers of Bangladesh police carried wreaths in the name of 2 policemen who got killed during the encounter with terrorists. Italian embassy officials laid a wreath ceremony to remember its nationals. Italy lost the maximum number of 9 nationals in the deadly attacks, followed by 7 people of Japan.
Today we have come here to pay our homage to the martyrs. We call them martyrs, those who were killed on this day last year. And amongst them, there were 9 Italians, 7 Japanese, American citizens, Indian citizens, including Bangladeshis were killed. And the terrorists, the militants, they have killed them in the name of Islam. So what we want, the religion-based politics should be banned from Bangladesh if we want to eradicate such terrorism from our soil.
On the evening of July 1, 2016, 7 gunmen stormed a cafe in an upmarket neighborhood in Bangladesh's capital, killing 22 people, including 9 Italians, 7 Japanese, an American and an Indian. The July 1 attack in Dhaka's diplomatic quarter was claimed by the Islamic State and was the worst militant attack in Bangladesh. The country has also been hit by a spate of killings of liberals and members of religious minorities by Islamic radicals in the past year.
Bangladesh government has taken numerous coordinated steps to battle radicalism in the country and have been partially successful in containing the attacks on the minorities. Now we shift our focus to India, a land of myriad cultures and festivals. Today we take you to India's southern Andhra Pradesh and Telangana states, where the Bonalu festival was celebrated with great enthusiasm. Take a look.
Devotees in colourful dresses and painted face depict various demons that the goddess Kali had destroyed in the epics. A festival in which goddess Mahakali is worshipped. The festival celebrated in the month of July is also considered a thanksgiving to the goddess for fulfillment of vows.
आषाढ़ मास नहीं, माता जी का बहुत प्रिय मास है। ये समझते हैं आषाढ़ मास के अंदर माता जी खुद घर पर जाकर भक्तों के ने पूजा को स्वीकार करते हैं।
The 3-week-long festival witnesses devotees come out in large numbers with drums and trumpets and performing ancient dances which are part of the ritual. These men represent Potharaju, the brother of Mother Goddess and the initiator of the festival and protector of the people. The women dress up with the traditional sari, jewels and other accessories during the occasion. Some women, on the other hand, face a spell of trace where they dance with the balancing pots to the rhythmic beats made by drums in honor of the goddess.
बोनालू मनाने का मतलब यह है हमारा फैमिली को और सारा समाज को ने सुभिक्ष रखने के वास्ते माता जी को प्रार्थना करते हुए ये कार्यक्रम बनाते हैं।
The origin of this festival dates back to the year 1813 when plague broke out in the twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad and had claimed thousands of lives. A military battalion was deployed to the Mahakali temple in Ujjain to offer prayers. It is believed that Mahakali halted the spread of the disease while the military battalion came back here and installed an idol by offering Bonalu to Mother Mahakali.
There are numerous fairs and festivals in India which have grabbed the attention of the world. On that note, we wrap up this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.